Hey guys, Brendan here from Ditto Music. Today we're going to be covering my favourite aspect of Cole Clark, and that's the amazing range of tone woods they offer. It's really a point which sets Cole Clark apart. There's no other manufacturer that gives you such a broad range of timbers within the same model range. Usually most manufacturers, if you want this timber, you got to spend another $500 more. If you want that timber, you got to buy a different model. Cole Clark, for example, you can buy an FL2EC, their most popular model, in 5 different soundboard materials, 3 different back and side materials. It really is a unique factor with their guitars. We're going to go through and discuss their soundboards, and then we're going to go through and talk about their back and side materials as well. So as I mentioned before, Cole Clark have a really extraordinary range of different soundboard materials they offer, especially in their 2 and also the 3 series. They have anything from Western Red Cedar through to Tasmanian Blackwood. Today, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to start with the very softest material they use for the soundboard and go through to the firmest or the hardest. You'll find with the softer timbers, they generally give you a slightly more complex overtones, slightly more complex harmonic structure. Then as you move through to the harder materials, they generally amplify a little bit better. And they're also a little bit more sturdy for your tappers and guys like that. What I've got here is an FL2EC in a Western Red Cedar for the top. It's by far the softest material they use for the soundboards. You'll find that it has a really, really rich, warm sound. A lot of people are fairly familiar with Cedar for other manufacturers using it. Cole Clark have recently brought it back into the range. They sort of use it a bit on and off, but it's a normal production model now. Very, very warm sound, really good for finger pickers, and really good for anyone that's a slightly softer touch. This particular one has been paired with Tasmanian Blackwood, which works beautifully with the Cedar. I'm going to swap now over to probably my favourite soundboard material at the moment from Cole Clark, which is this beautiful Californian Redwood. It's quite an interesting situation that Cole Clark have this timber on offer. In the States, Redwood is very, very hard to get your hands on. In some places, you aren't allowed to harvest it. What Cole Clark has been lucky enough to do is that there were some redwood trees planted in Victoria about 150 years ago. And those trees now have some of them naturally begin to fall. Cole Clark only harvest it from naturally fallen timbers. You find that the redwood is a little bit firmer than the cedar, but still quite a soft timber. It's a really, really warm, rich sounding guitar. It has a really, really nice kind of harmonic overtones, and it's a very, very complex sound. The spiel for it initially was, going to make a really good finger style guitar like the Cedar. But I actually find that, fingerstyle sounds awesome on it, but the strumming is just huge. It's such a big, warm, full sound. It's very quickly becoming one of Cole Clark's most popular timbers. This particular one that I've chosen to show you today is actually paired with an Indian Rosewood back and sides, which is magic. They do it either with Tasmanian Blackwood or Indian Rosewood. My pick is the Rosewood, just goes with it absolutely beautifully. So now I'll move on to Spruce. Spruce is a timber that Cole Clark have used since the get-go. Everyone's familiar with Spruce. It's the most commonly used soundboard material from guitar manufacturers all over the world. Cole Clark use Spruce because it does, it's a very familiar sound to a lot of people. It's got very, very good sound propagation characteristics, hence why they use it in soundboards of things like pianos. You find it's a very, nice, bright sounding timber. It kind of falls in the middle in terms of the stiffness of soundboard materials that Cole Clark use. You can't go too far wrong with it. It's not as popular for Cole Clark as it obviously is for other manufacturers, being that they use a lot of very interesting timbers now, a lot of native Aussie timbers you're not going to see on guitars from overseas, but they do still keep in their range, which I'm really happy about. For example, this particular guitar paired up like the last one we had with Indian Rosewood, Spruce and Rosewood, such a awesome combination, such a familiar sound to a lot of people. It's really, really, really good that Cold Clark do offer this combination. Cool. So I'm going to move on to Bunya. Cold Clark make more guitars with Bunya tops than any other soundboard material. It's a timber that's native to Australia. It's sustainable, which is really important to Cold Clark. It's you know, a uniquely Australian sound. You don't find Bunya on guitars from overseas. It's you know, it shares some characteristics of Spruce, but you'll find that the vibration doesn't travel along the grain quite as quickly. So it's a little bit, I find it to be a little bit warmer and mellower. This particular guitar is an FL2EC, Bunya top paired with Tasmanian Blackwood back and sides. This historically has been the number one selling guitar for Cold Clark. It seems to be the real sweet spot. You strum on it, sounds awesome. You pick on it, sounds great. It sounds awesome plugged in. It's a really, really good all-rounder. You know, if you want a bit of a Swiss Army knife Cold Clark, the Bunya really seems to be a good one to go for. Now I'm going to move on to the Tasmanian Blackwood. But I should actually refer to it as Australian Blackwood, being that they don't source it just from Tasmania anymore. They also get it from Victoria. The Blackwood is by far the stiffest timber that Cold Clark use. It puts up with a real big punishment if you're a percussive player and you're like hitting on your guitar, that sort of thing. Being that it is so stiff, plugged in, it sounds awesome. And, you know, I like it that it's a bit of an alternate. The Blackwood is a close cousin to Hawaiian koa that you see on a lot of, you know, high-end American guitars. So it's nice that Cold Clark are doing something a little bit different in their range. You find with the Tasmanian Australian Blackwood, I should say, if nothing else, it just looks absolutely sensational. You'll find you can get some really nice figuring in it there. It looks awesome under lights. It's just a very, very pretty, very unique guitar. So I'm going to run you through back and side material, body materials. The first one I want to show you is Queensland Maple, which, as you can see on this lovely Triumph 2, a little bit of a special model, nice inlay, nice, anyway. Queensland Maple, really nice bright sounding timber. A lot of people think it's going to be a super bright guitar because they're used to, you know, big jumbos in maple from American builders. Australian Queensland Maple is actually more similar to mahogany tonally, so it's you know, quite a present guitar, really sweet mid-range, fairly bright. Cool guitar if you want something that's upbeat and it's going to cut through the mix. Really nice timber. On the FL3, rather than a normal Queensland Maple, they use what they refer to as Queensland Silky Maple. Very, very similar. You find it just gets nicer figuring through it. It's a little bit more of a showy timber. Cool. I'm going to move on to the very much tried and true Australian Blackwood back and sides. Australian Blackwood is, and I can't see it getting beaten, the most popular body material that Cold Clark uses. It's a really nice all-rounder, like I touched on in the other video with the Bunya Blackwood combination, is it's got a really nice balance that if you want to be finger picking, if you want to be strumming, it does everything really, really nicely. It's quite a balanced sound. There's not a lot of compression in the sound. It's still got a reasonable low-end punch without being sort of too boomy. Like I said, a really, really good all-rounder. I reckon it looks absolutely beautiful. It's a really, really good-looking timber for both the soundboard and the back and side material. Cool. Moving on. Last but not least, we've got Indian Rosewood. Indian Rosewood's a very, very traditional material for bodies of guitars. It's been around for a long, long time. A lot of people find it to be a really familiar sound. It is such a full sounding timber. It's got lots and lots of bottom end. Some people can find it a little bit too boomy. If you're like me, you just love that sort of fullness that it gives you. I especially like it if you're going to be using it as an accompanying instrument. If you're going to be singing with it, it really fills in that bottom end. It's a really, really nice sounding timber. I'm also just going to quickly mention the fingerboard material that Cold Clark use and also the necks as well. The fingerboard timber they use for the vast majority of their guitars is Indian Rosewood. as a lot of manufacturers do. There's also a few upgraded FL2 models which go to ebony, which I really love. It's very smooth, very, very dense timber. And when you get up to the 3 series on both the Angel and the Fat Lady, it goes to all ebony. The necks on all the Cole Clark guitars are Queensland maple. Cole Clark settled on that for being a really solid, strong neck, very, very stable. If not finding you're having to do too many neck adjustments and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a really good hard-wearing neck. Thanks for watching the video today, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, big thumbs up below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we've got a lot of other cool videos worth checking out. Most importantly, our other Cole Clark ones that cover the pickup system and the construction and that kind of thing. I look forward to seeing you soon. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions or put a comment below. Catch you guys.